Hello. It's Saturday today, but this week on Monday evening when I came home from work, my wife told me that I need to let her go. That is, she wants a divorce. We've been married 7 years, we've known each other. We first met about 10 years ago. But she feels it isn't working for her, so she's going. I mean, we both love each other, but it's not. We kind of become friends, is the problem. She complains that I lack enough passion for her, and that I'm too unemotional. And of course, anyone who knows me will understand that, perhaps. In addition, there's difficulties over our plans for the future and saving up and things like that. We would want to, get a house, get a family, maybe move somewhere nicer, that sort of thing. But the saving up rate is slow in this country because property is so expensive. And you can think about going abroad, but there's no jobs there really. So in most places, so it's kind of a awkward situation. But really, it's presumably the emotional side, but is the main thing. But she's also found someone new, who she claims is the right man for her. She's sure. Because he's got what I don't have. I imagine I have some things that he doesn't. It's all a bit of a... Nobody is everything, it's all a bit of a lottery. At first, obviously, I wanted to know how certain she was. Can we do anything about it? But it's not possible. She's made up her mind, and she's a very determined person. I think women always are very decisive, or nearly always. Let's not generalise too much. Typically women are very decisive and ruthless about relationships. It's nearly always the women that terminate relationships after all. Because I suppose the clock is ticking for them. Much more obviously. They have a period of about 20 years or so maybe in which they can be fairly sure they can have a baby or two. And after that, it could all disappear. So, for them, if they don't feel things are going well enough, they're really quite quick to make a firm decision and go. I say quick, we have been married 7 years. That's not bad, really. At one time I thought I wouldn't be marriable at all. So, it's sad. When she told me, my initial feeling probably was, well, obviously I'm shocked and emotionally sort of frazzled, as you'd expect. And there was some kind of feeling of embarrassment. Oh no, I've got to have to tell people and stuff, but I got over that quickly. I don't care about that really. But I'll have to tell my parents still. I'll do that after this video. There'll be that. It's going to be disappointing for them, of course. My other thoughts were that all our plans just suddenly evaporating before my eyes, and presumably hers too. Everything we've been working for the last few years, saving up, working hard, going to work, coming home and doing more stuff, her working long hours every day, self-employed, doing lots of things, daytime and evenings as well, hard work. Not exactly in vain. We've got some modest savings which we'll have to split between us. It's not going to be acrimonious, we're just going to be rational about it. We've both contributed, she's worked hard and saved a lot. I've worked hard, not saved, because my money basically pays the bills and hers is the surplus. That's how we've done it. But there wouldn't be any saving without my work, obviously. So we split it 50-50, all the assets, or just chunk. We were not that far off being able to do some things with enough money to, maybe do something, but that's going to be set back because life is far less financially efficient for single people than it is for couples. She's going to join a new couple, but they'll probably have to start more or less from scratch, as I understand it. But, what about me? I'll have to start more or less from scratch as well, and paying the vast rents in London, it's so hard. I should be able to break even, I suppose. As long as I keep my job, which I will, I hope. But it was, in a way, that the idea of all our plans and hard work evaporating was 50%. The other 50% was the emotional, she doesn't want me anymore, I'm not good enough, all this sort of stuff. And it's Saturday now, and this was Monday, and I still have stress symptoms. Not as bad, but I'm still thirsty all the time, because my throat and mouth are dry. It's classic stress symptoms. My hands, earlier in the week, my hands were all shaky. I've got some sleep deficit, more than usual. Starting to come down. My appetite has returned more, not entirely, but mostly. 90%, say. I could do with losing a bit of weight anyway. But obviously, on Tuesday I had to go back to work with all this going on. And, there are ways of sort of calming yourself and getting on with life. Little Jedi mind tricks, which I use all the time, actually. And they're very important. Obviously, at work, when working, the job kind of occupies your mind, and although I have a kind of a job that's classically considered to be stressful, which is a sort of a telephone help desk type job in IT, compared to this, that was relaxing, because my mind was focused on that, so the stress levels had time to kind of gradually die down, and each day I go to work the stress levels sort of cool down a little more. But there are still some important ways to handle these kinds of stresses, and I want to talk about what happened to me during the week as I sort of got over the initial shock and started trying to return myself back to normal. Now, one important thing is to acknowledge feelings. It's one of the crucial things, I suppose, that Sigmund Freud, the pioneering psychologist, discovered, or theorised and discovered, I suppose, was that people who get screwed up are people who suppress their feelings, and when you suppress your feelings, they still operate, but you kind of forget about them. And that means you do things and sabotage yourself and all sorts of stuff without knowing why. You mess up your life without knowing why. And you can't get rid of feelings. They're a physiological function and part of the lower brain, so-called lower. That's a value judgment, but that's what we call it. That they are natural evaluations of your situation, and they're based on your instincts. They've built up over the life of the universe, and even if you just count the life of our species of, well, a few million years of the various varieties, I would say they've built up over all of life, actually, 3 or 4 billion years. Those instincts are largely accurate. They understand what's going on around you. And you have these feelings. They are an accurate reflection of how things are affecting you. So it's really very harmful to just suppress feelings. You need to feel them, unfortunately, even the bad ones. But what you don't need to do is go into a big drama about it. It's really important not to indulge in drama and go sort of, oh, why is this happening to me? What could I have done? You're bound to think over. I mean, regrets are inevitable. Obviously, there's things I could have done or think I could have done. I knew at the time sometimes that, but I couldn't, and I know I couldn't. And anyway, I didn't, and I can't change it now. The rational mind is helpful for these sorts of things. So you're bound to indulge in this dramatisation of it a bit and fantasise about stuff and go over things in your head again and again and again. But the thing to do is, once you realise or recognise that you're going around in circles and they're not productive, you have to sort of step back and say, whoa, I know the feeling, but I don't need to be thinking these thoughts anymore. I don't need to wind it up even more. It's not helpful. I understand my situation is terrible. I don't need to be indulging in drama about it, really. It does not help. It is pure self-indulgence in a way, and just step back quiet enough. If it's a habit, it will return. You just, I understand the situation. I'm feeling bad because the situation is bad. I know, I really know, and there's nothing I can do about it. It's too late. I mean, I know that she was still herself, Monday, Tuesday. But by Wednesday evening there was a wall there I could see. And by Thursday, in a way, she's sort of cut me off. I'm no longer her wife in her mind. She wants to move out. She's going to move out in a couple of months. We've got to sort stuff out, obviously. It's irreversible now. And the bad feelings are also a signal to me that life is changing. People get depressed when you lose people, when bad things happen. It's, if you like, if nothing else, it's a sign of unwelcome change. It's important to just accept it for what it is. It's a message about the truth of the situation, basically. Don't poo-poo it. think it over, acknowledge it accurately as you can with your reasoning mind, and don't indulge in winding those feelings up with useless fantasizing and things like that. And if you can go to work and take your mind off it for a time, just to, get the levels down to some sort of feeling where you don't feel so bad, that's well worth it, of course. Another aspect of this is not to take anything personally. I mean, obviously, if your wife wants to divorce you, you're going to feel that it's a bit personal, right? But at the end of the day, I am who I am. I am what I am. I know I'm doing my best, and I can't be what I am not. I can't feel what I don't feel. I can't do what's against my nature. I just have to find a way through. And ultimately maybe find another woman, although at my age, getting on 57, I don't see too many hot babes battering down my door, really. This isn't the Playboy Mansion or anything, it's I'll just have to live and not worry about it, to be honest. What will be, will be. She's found someone new. Good for her, I suppose, and I hope it is good for her, actually. She's a good woman, a very good person, really, honestly, and I do want her to be happy. Ideally with me, but that cannot be. But I suppose the point about what I'm saying is, don't take things personally. When you take things personally, you're like, why does everything always happen to me? It's like the universe is pointing at you and saying, you are going to suffer this. The truth is, it doesn't care, and nobody else really cares about you the way. It's just more dramatisation at the end of the day. It isn't so much happening to you, it's just happening. You, as an element in it, are unimportant. The person is not really that crucial to what's going on. You are an observer, our bodies are just doing what they do. Sure, we have some executive input into what happens, but there's a famous metaphor that we are like a monkey riding on an elephant. The elephant actually goes where it wants, but the monkey thinks it's in control. It tugs on this ear, and the elephant knows the monkey wants him to turn this way, and if there's no particular reason not to, maybe the elephant will. It'll indulge the monkey a bit. It'll go with the monkey some of the times. At other times, the elephant is not interested, and it goes on. And the monkey makes up some excuse for why he decided to go this way instead. And psychological study after psychological study shows that people do this all the time. They make decisions without being conscious of the reasons, and then they make up excuses afterwards for why they did it that way. And the majority of people really lack awareness about what they're doing in things actually a lot of the time. Techniques like the Buddhist breathing meditation and things like that can help bring you back to understanding the distinction between your instincts, your feelings, your verbal mind, and your actual executive I want this, that function. The real you and the consciousness, the awareness. I have a video about mindfulness meditation, the mindfulness of breathing, so have a look at that if you haven't seen it. It helps you understand that you can only do so much, and it is false to try and take responsibility for too much of what you do. So the not taking anything personally means understanding that maybe you did your best, maybe you didn't do your absolute best, you could have maybe done a bit more, but you are not entirely to blame for what happens. You don't have control over your instincts and your feelings. They are what they are. You are responsible only for the bit that you can do. And taking things personally means trying arrogantly to take responsibility for all of it. And that is so wrong. And you might say I'm trying to let myself off the hook, and it's true, and so as not to be a hypocrite, I must also let her off the hook as well. She's doing what she believes is best for her, and she's smart, she's emotional, it probably is best for her, unfortunately. That's sad, because we put so much in, but she's doing the right thing for her. It's not what I would like. Whether it's the right thing for me or not, I have no idea. I will go back to living on my own, as I was before. The clock is ticking for her. She's 30. She's got to get on. And it is important as well to help keep the drama down, that you realise that you can't change the past. Okay, I mean, quantum mechanics suggests that there are some tiny little quantum things that can change past and future, but on the scale of human existence, that's unrealistic. To do things differently was beyond my power then. I tried. I understood the issues. I simply couldn't. The monkey cannot control the elephant. I can only be me. Then, now, in the future. I can work on improving myself, of course. I have done over my whole adult life. But I'm only the best I can be at a given time. And when the feelings started to calm down, they'd got their message across. I'm still stressed, but I'm only about 50% stressed now compared with at the beginning, maybe 40%. It's calming. I started to worry about my motivation, because I learned something from the marriage and from its evaporation and seeing all our plans evaporate. I learned about motivation, because for me, in the long years before I was married, obviously I had girlfriends from time to time, but most of the time I was on my own, and I was kind of depressed about it and miserable. I didn't know how to, these Jedi mind tricks and things, although I read the self-help books, they were only vaguely helpful, because sadly most of these books are after making money, and they don't really tell you, unless you pick out, there's a few very small number of books which are quite helpful. The Voice of Knowledge by Don Miguel Ruiz is one of the best. I'll put a link below the video if I can, if I remember. Let me write it down. Okay. Most of those books are just a rip-off, basically. They give you fine-sounding words without actually giving you a method you can use, and so you have to buy another book to find out more, and they tell you more of the same, and you feel inspired for a few hours, and then it all fades away because there's nothing you can do, right? It's rubbish. It's a rip-off. So anyway, what I learned in those years, I was somewhat depressed and lacking in motivation. I struggled to get myself to do things which I knew were in my long-term interest. Get a new job, get a better job, work as self-employed, do things. But when you're stuck in some crummy bedsit on your own, day after day after day, it gets rather difficult. I got depressed, I got into debt, which I still have unpayable debts. Way over my head from those times. And I couldn't understand why I wasn't motivated, you know. And now that I've been married, whilst married, not for the first year or two, I kind of changed into it and learned as I went. We became motivated and worked hard. We want things we want, or wanted. A house, a family, maybe to move to a sunny climate in future years where my parents have passed on. Something like that. And we've been working hard, really hard, and saving up for it. And it's surprising to look at me now compared with me then. I was in a bad way then, really, before being married. Really no energy for anything. I was, compared with now, I was in a state of permanent depression. And that came in part from not really having any goals. There were things that, you know, I kind of wanted. You know, I need to get myself some money, I need to get myself pension, but I didn't really feel the need strongly enough. It was stuff that I knew intellectually but didn't feel, and the motivation therefore was weak. But in a relationship, there's more motivation, because not only do I feel the need to keep it all working and keep us happy and have a better life and all that, but if I'm slacking or backsliding, my wife is going to go hitting the warpath and complaining and driving me on, okay? And when I'm at work, of course, I work hard, both for these family goals and because, of course, I don't want to be seen to be slacking there too. And I want to pull my weight, so I work hard at work. I work hard at home. It's amazing. And knowing me, it's amazing, right? And the motivation is coming from the goals and from other people. The fact that I don't want to be seen to be bad, in the past I maybe didn't want to fail as such. That's still a motivation for me, but if you want to avoid failing, the way to avoid failing is not to do anything, right? And I think that was a real negative trap for me in the past. Now, the fear of failure is not really an issue. I've long acknowledged it, and like acknowledging other feelings. And I think, you know, just get on with it, right? I failed in my marriage. I'm still alive. You know, I'll fail at other things. I've failed in almost everything I've ever tried, right? That is life. We learn by failing, and it's not enjoyable. Whatever evil god made this universe really needs to be not worshipped, you know. But that's the way it works, unfortunately. At least for me. I'm here as an example to others. Maybe. Like you. So I learned this. I need to have strong goals and feel them. This is something that Tony Robbins talks about in his mastery videos of various types. Anthony Robbins, you might have heard of him. I listened to all his things, but I couldn't really implement it. But it's true what he says. You can make your goals more powerful by strongly associating massive pleasure with their success and massive pain with their failure. When in a relationship, you kind of get this. Okay, you envisage fantastic times ahead, and you feel the pain when your wife is not happy with you. Okay, it's powerful, and it does motivate you. And I really want to avoid sinking back into my pre-married mental state. And so I do have to feel these goals, and the ghost of my wife is going to be working in my head to keep me going, I think. I've already ironed my trousers today. Stranger things have happened. So my new goals. Well, maybe a future family, but that is, I think, reliant on luck. Am I suitable for a woman? I don't know. Some, maybe. Are they suitable for me? I don't know. Whatever. I'll just have to live my life. And the fact is, if you are living your life and not just moping, you're more attractive to women anyway, actually. They want someone who's in command, as it were, who's going somewhere or knows what they're doing or feels like they do. It's not attractive to be just whining or aimless, obviously. So maybe again I might move to a sunny climate one day in the distant future. There's no way I can do it now. Pay off my debts. Avoid poverty. So I'm going to keep my job, obviously, and keep working. And I'll make a game out of it, so the motivation is there. I want to keep getting promoted, make more money and stuff like that. You have to make some money, okay? My YouTube channel maybe will do something one day. And anyway, I need a guaranteed basic income, because the government isn't going to give me one. I don't think I qualify for anything much in the way of pensions or anything like that. So I'm hoping that my online stuff, my YouTube channel, maybe will be enough for a pension eventually. Who knows? I can do other things too, to a limited extent. I'm conscious that I only have a limited amount of energy for doing things, and I need to focus on those things which are easiest for me to do. There may be things which are better for me to do, but because they're difficult, I know that they will drain too much of my energy, and I will fail. I can do YouTube. I don't mind doing it. It's okay. And maybe there are one or two other things I can think about and do. I quite like photography. Maybe I can do something with that. I don't know, in my spare time. London is an amazing city. I can photograph it. Make some money out of that somehow. And I've got to move on. I think it was Thursday night. I had a dream. And we were in our kitchen, and I opened the oven door, and we bent down and had a look in. She looked in. and there was the baking tray in the oven with tin foil on it, and the fat was sizzling away, but there was no food on it. If you like, the oven was empty. And that, for me, is like a metaphor of the way our marriage has turned out. The essential ingredient was missing. And it's so sad, and that dream sums it up as well, for me as well, because she was looking in the oven so diligently, so conscientiously, hard-working. All her best qualities were there, but the essential ingredient was missing. And if ever I want to feel sad, or acknowledge my feelings, that image sums it up for me. Well, if you're going through something like this, I hope this video has been helpful. I may continue with a kind of a video diary every now and then. I've got to tell my parents next and fill out the divorce papers. I might do a video about those. Bye for now.